Thank you all very much. What are the first two letters of my company? Yes, and we're solving HHR actually. I'll get into that, but that was a pretty good, yeah, thank you. We didn't plan that at all, but that was pretty interesting. So I'm here, I'll be all over the place, honestly, and I hope you all get value, but I'm covering three things. So first is my unusual journey, because I'm not really an ideal fit for this space. I'll be talking about what we do at Able Innovations, and then just some of the trends, as Michael pointed to, in healthcare. I'll be talking about automation in healthcare, really. So I started off my career, I'm an entrepreneur. I worked in the solar industry for 8 years, so not in health tech. I'm an engineer, didn't do any master's, PhD, or anything. I bootstrapped the company initially, and we didn't have any idea of how to do this. So I'll just start from the very beginning. I started off, graduated from U of T, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, walked into a startup, literally met the CTO, and said, I'm interested in this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. One day I might want to have my own startup. It's like, join me. And next day I had an offer. It was like minimum wage, but I was an engineer working at one of the best solar startups in the world. I worked there for 8 years, started off in tech, spent 5 years in Asia, taking care of supply chain and operations. The way I say it, the company paid millions of dollars for me to make every mistake in the book. So now I don't have to do it on my own purse. But I learned a lot. And then I moved to work directly with the CEO, and understood the value of product market fit and timing. Those are two things that you can't control sometimes. Product market fit you can, but timing you can't. And that took me down a journey where I started to help other startups whose missions I believed in. So I started consulting for companies that were making IoT dongles, to like one that you guys may know is TechTO Robotics, that makes exoskeletons for kids with CT. I helped them where I could in terms of structuring the supply chain manufacturing, because I'd spent all that time in Asia. That gave me the means to start something of my own. Now, this is where my paths kind of converge. So my mom works in long-term care. She talks a lot about how she's been injured a lot, her peers do. And every time I'm like, somebody must be doing something. Like, this is an age-old problem, it's low tech, it's unsexy, but there must be a solution. But every time I asked, there was no answer. So I honed into the space where I really could empathize with the geriatric population and the caregivers providing care to them. And I said, let me automate this highly labor-intensive task of lifting and moving non-ambulatory patients. A lot of times it's just, dead weight. It's really difficult to move. And this was exacerbated by my mom getting injured a bunch of times. So then I started Able Innovations. And if there is sound, I'll ask you to kind of mute it. But what we do at Able Innovations is, a lot of times people might look at this and say, oh, it's a low-tech bed. But it's not. There's so much more, as you can see on the video on the left, that it's closer to developing a car than it is that. But the reason I'm not venture-backed is, when I went to VCs and said, I want to disrupt the space, well, what's out there? Oh, it's sheets that are hundreds of dollars. Oh, you're going to disrupt that space? It's low-tech, and this looks like a bed. What are my multiples? They didn't have a clue on how to invest in this space. So I decided bootstrapping is the only way. But here we are now. We're talking about HHR. We're talking about AI. We do have actual AI as well, like, despite the acronym. But we stuck to doing the right thing. And I will say that a lot of times, people chase venture capital as a validation, but that's not the goal. The goal is to provide value and sell. And that's what we've been focused on. So we're very lucky. And I'll show you a very simple video. Up above is how patients are moved right now. You need 4 or 5 people to get physically involved, get in people's intimate spaces, and move them. It's labor intensive for the staff. It can risk them in injuring themselves so that they may never be able to work at full capacity again. And then for the patient, it's highly undignified. And down below, it's our device. It's fairly effortless. It looks simple. People get it. And that's a testament to what we focused on. That's the AI portion, where we have a lot of sensors that are sensing, this is where the patient is, this is where the bed is. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Now, I see us as a part of a broader emerging market, just as Michael talked about in digital health. I'm going to talk about in the broader of automation, because healthcare facilities are struggling. I don't need to get into that. Michael covered that. I'll talk about the ways healthcare systems are looking to find sustainability through automation. So the first one is software. This has been around for a little while, but you can automate simple tasks such as scheduling and things like that, that I think we all know about. The next one is AI. There's various examples of that. One is using AI to help with better diagnosing images as an example. And then there's also robotics, which I think is really emerging at this point. We've seen robotic surgeries, but we're also looking at a big area of hospital inefficiencies, which is hospital operations. So you're going to see more and more robots helping guide patients to their rooms, robots deliver syringes to where they need to go, and then robots such as Able Innovations, where we're moving actual patients. So I just want everybody to keep an open mind. Hardware is really difficult, but there's various ways to get there. Now, I'll leave everybody with this thought that automation in healthcare is not optional whatsoever, because our system is crumbling and more needs to be done, and we need innovation to bridge that gap. Now, with that said, I'd be happy to take any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, this looks like a really cool product. I actually came to this event because I saw the demo video and I wanted more information. I'm curious. Yeah, so the reason I was interested in it is because I've seen my dad transferred, and not only is it hard on the caregiver, but it can be quite dangerous. So yeah, the main question is I'm wondering like how you got Health Canada approval.
Yeah, I'll say that regulation was one of those things that if you know ahead of time, like in healthcare, it's a daunting like word that people use because you don't know what your pathway is going to be, but we did really try to know what we're doing ahead of time. So in this case, we're class 1 because we're non-invasive, Health Canada, so it is actually a bit of a fast track to get commercial status. So we have an MDL license, and similarly with FDA, invasive devices have a lot more requirements and onerous to provide data there. Yeah.
So how long did it take roughly?
Honestly, it was about developing systems. It's not even like it's from the inception. We had to make sure we had the right system, the right quality management systems. So by the time we developed the product, it was about 3 years, and then on year 4 we applied for Health Canada, or we got registered for Health Canada. And the way it works is, you say this is what I'm doing, and Health Canada has the ability to come and audit you, and that's what we did. So we just registered, and Health Canada so far said, okay, you're doing it the right way.
I see. So you're mainly selling into hospitals and LTCs?
It's mainly hospitals right now, and that's because we're focused on lateral supine transfers, so lying down to lying down. In long-term care, it's the bed to wheelchair. That I still call it the holy grail. We'll get there one day. But for hospitals, there's a huge demand. Think of CT scans and how many times somebody may be sedated, needs to be pulled from a stretcher to a CT suite. So we focused on that segment as our beachhead, and that's what we're operating in right now and for the next year, and then we're going to expand from that point on. There's a big requirement in bariatrics in hospitals too. And then as we can get into more ambulatory patients, we can get into long-term care.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great innovation. I've heard about it for a while, and so I'm looking forward to seeing it enter the disability sector. But you kind of skid past one brilliant thing that was on your slide, which is that you bootstrapped to 2 million, which is like wildly unheard of now. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so when I mentioned that I'd spent a lot of time in Asia, I developed a lot of relationships, and I knew a lot of startups. I'm glad you asked me that question. I knew a lot of startups that were going to make the same mistakes. So, every time somebody builds and ramps up a product through the proverbial valley of death, there are some common mistakes one makes. So after having lived that and being there, I went to entrepreneurs. I'd take days off, and it would be kind of doors open. Toronto used to be a startup version. I just used to go and meet entrepreneurs over beer and say, hey, what are you doing for this? And they'd say, this is what I'm doing. And I would kind of tell them my cautionary tale. And that became a consulting type gig. We used to call it invest. So we would invest in engineering. And that allowed me the means to start Able. So for 2 years, Able was just an idea, and I was funding it through consulting. So I would consult on one side, get enough capital, hire engineers that were better than me to make the prototypes. And that was 2 years of our existence. So that was 2018 to 2020. And 2020, I finally had a investable vision where private investors, not VCs, were convinced, like physicians were convinced that, hey, I can back Jay. He's been doing this for a while and he had the right approach. And then I kind of shifted over. But very much on a napkin sketch and an idea, nobody was willing to invest in me at that point.
So I have the same questions, but now a follow-up on that. Do you feel that that has slowed you down, the fact that you had to bootstrap as opposed to if you had to check?
Absolutely. Like if you start with $100 million, I could get this done in like 2 years. But it's about doing it the right way, because as you go through these, like money comes with strings attached, expectations. And the fact is, if you knew exactly what needed to be done, others would have figured it out. A lot of times you need time to let things settle in. And sometimes you need that patient capital to get it just right. Sometimes it's the timing of the market. We started just before COVID. People were not talking to us at all. And I'm like, one day this is going to be a thing where you're going to have staff shortages. Well, 2020, when COVID happened, everybody wanted a UV robot, like a Roomba with a UV robot. 2021, people were still kind of in panic mode. 2022 is when people started talking about HHR. So it still took a long time. And now what I'd been saying since 2018 got accelerated. But a VC back in 2018 wouldn't have seen that. They wouldn't have projected that. So I feel like there's pros and cons to that. They would have wanted us to grow in 2 years and taken potentially different paths. But by retaining control of our paths, by not taking some forms of funding, we're able to now end up where I feel is the right space at the right time.
Okay, we have time for one more.
Mine's quick. I just wanted to know if you have any ROI data on disability costs. To follow up on your point, have you been able to have like a long enough tenure at a hospital to be able to show the decrease in disability?
Yeah, so our angle is twofold. One is hospitals are struggling with throughput, so they're not able to get enough procedures done. And one part of that is you don't have enough people to move people. So like you are a 350-pound man and you show up at a CT scan, it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes sometimes to find the right team to do it. You could have done another scan. So that's one way to pitch our value, which is fairly quick. Now on the disability and injury side, you're absolutely right. It takes a long amount of time, and that's going to come with more tenure. We don't have that. For perspective, we were in one hospital for a full year last year, and now we're amongst 7. So we're growing quickly, but that takes 5-10 years to get that type of data. And I know there's some more questions. You can always reach out to me at jay@ableinnovations.com, but I really appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, Jayyesh.
Thank you, Jayyesh. That was great.